Welcome back to Plague of Shadows. Last time, we defeated the entire Order of No Quarter in that second stage of the Enchantress's lair, and we also beat Black Knight in the first stage. But for now, I'm just gonna do my little skip and a jaunt to Percy so I could give him these music sheets. And because we have all of the Cipher Coins, well, at least the rest of the Cipher Coins, we used up all the other ones, Percy will actually help you out and make whatever these Cipher Coins create with you. Too bad it isn't Mona. It would have been a bit more... Well, I guess Plague Knight would have been a bit happier. But instead, we have Percy to deal with. Although I don't imagine the dialogue would have been too different. Now that we have this chalice, though, we need to talk with someone who deals with chalices, and who better than the Troupple King here at the Troupple Pond. We have the Pandemonium chalice, and thus he grants us a new power. The spit he spits up is all rainbow colored, and now we have the Pandemonium cloak. This garment makes it so that you have a ton of random stuff going on. Basically every few seconds, you're going to be switching between bomb types. Like, for example, just then, well, at the beginning I was Impact with Sparkler and Bounce, and then I went to Lob with Sparkler and Short, Fuse, and then now it's like Cluster with Bounce and normal Fuse. And as you noticed, I was able to shoot more than one cluster bomb at a time. The benefit of this armor is that despite not being able to change anything, at least on your own, you have pretty much great access to everything, I guess I should say. Your bombs are no longer limited by their powder, so if you're using cluster powder, then you can throw 3 rather than just having 1 on screen at a time. And your power is also no longer as limited. So say you're using that, which usually takes up 2.5 of your meter, it'll only take 1. The only item that isn't affected, I think, is the swiping staff, which always takes just half anyway, so it's not that big of a deal. And, of course, going to the left will get us all this extra stuff. With this armor, I can not really rectify something else, but, well, it's not really making a correction. It's just a statement. Because of the way this armor works, you have a lot, and I do mean a lot, of different combinations for Plague Knight. I doubt that one person is going to see all of them, because there's the 6 casings, 6 powders, 6 fuses, and then the 5 bursts, which all change with your armor changing, well, like the color changing. And then your arcanas, you can't choose between them, you can't quick select them, so those also change along with you, and you have 9 of those, so it's like 1080 combinations for those bombs, and then times 9 for your arcanas. As you can see, I can't really select anything, everything is question marks on screen right now. But that's like, with 1080 by 9, that's 9,000... Dang, I can't do math right now. It's over 9,000, okay? 9,000, I don't know, 720. That might be right. You know, I have my phone near me. I could just do some math right now. Anyway, this boss fight is very dangerous to do. In fact, anything is very dangerous to do with the Pandemonium cloak on, because you don't know what's going on. So you might use some bombs and destroy basically everything underneath you. The sparkler powder here with the orbit casing is very, very bad, because due to the way the sparkler powder works, it's just going to continuously blow through whatever it's near. It doesn't explode on impact with certain objects. So you can basically tear your way through the ground by accident in this fight. And that has happened to me before. The first time I beat the game, I used the Pandemonium cloak. But it's a very risk-reward kind of thing. Sometimes you might get some really bad bombs that aren't good at breaking anything, but can, you know, deal out decent damage. And sometimes you'll get like a crazy combination where you'll have bombs that can, of course, do a ton of damage, but they also break everything in sight, so you won't have any more platform to stand on, or, you know, whatever might happen. Luckily, I just got the Berserker's Brew for that last combination, so I wouldn't be taking knockback for like a second before my combination changed again. That is something that I didn't talk about with the Berserker's Brew and the Leech Liquid. If you change your Arcana while the effects are still active, the effects will turn off, which is pretty lame. I guess it's so you can't use both at the same time to make yourself pretty much invincible. Like you could Berserker's Brew to make it so that you do damage to enemies and also not get knocked back, but you'll still take damage. So if you turn the Leech Liquid on, you'll be able to run into enemies, take damage, and then immediately recover that damage, which might be a devastating combination if not for the fact that your Arcana will, you know, wear off as soon as you change it. And now we're able to get the Enchantress's essence, the final essence that we need to create the ultimate potion. However, this isn't exactly a good thing, as we're about to see. We have this ultimate potion in our hands, but Mona's here, and of course Mona loves Plague Knight, and Plague Knight loves her, but Plague Knight is still convinced that, well, was still convinced that he needed the ultimate potion in order to actually win over her heart. And he made the ultimate potion, but it went all haywire. And now we actually have to fight the Plague of Shadows itself. Now, this boss fight is very easy if you're doing what I'm doing, which is nothing. If you do nothing during this boss fight, after like 40 seconds or so, it'll end. If you are doing this boss fight, it's basically the same as the Plague Knight boss fight as Shovel Knight. He has the same moves, he jumps around a lot, he can teleport around, he can summon vats that he can explode in order to have a big radius going on. The platforms under you, well, the platform under you is constantly rising, but it's made of breakable objects, so he can break those under you. And after not fighting for a little while, not Plague Knight, the Plague of Shadows rather, will actually kind of just die. And then even further transform after dying into, I think this is called the Corrupted Essence, something like that. But it's a bit of a difficult boss fight. There are some moves that are really hard to dodge, like for example those projectiles, those bird-looking things that he shoots out of his mouth. Not the easiest to dodge, they are pretty sporadic. The way to deal with him is actually to attack that bottom cauldron down there. That'll cause him to fall, and when he opens his mouth after falling, you can toss bombs in there. Or just toss bombs in while he's spitting out his projectiles. He can send out the cauldron separate from himself. And he can also, he can perform a move that I really wanted to show off that I wasn't able to. It's a move where he basically spits out copies of Mona. And those copies of Mona actually can be destroyed. If you don't destroy them, then there will be a big explosion in a cross-shaped formation with those Monas being at the origin. And it's a pretty devastating attack in terms of, you know, not being able to dodge it. It's not too bad, though. That boss fight wasn't very hard. Maybe because I got lucky with the bomb combinations that I had. Like, I was able to get, like, 3 lobbed cluster powders in his mouth, which did a ton of damage to him. But Mona and Plague Knight realize that they don't need this potion. and instead are going to use the potion to blow up the tower, which may or may not be canon. I don't know. It might just be that the tower fell because the enchantress died, or at least whatever was left of the enchantress in that amulet thing died after Shovel Knight dealt with it. But I guess we'll never know. Or maybe we will. Maybe that'll be not confirmed, revealed in the next campaign. I don't know. Anyway, we get to see the Tropical King and King Knight and all these other people in the ending sequence. Although the endings are a bit different now. Like, of course, the other Tropical Acolyte and Oolong are here. And previously, Plague Knight got knighted by King Knight. I mean, not by King Knight, the original King of Pridemore Keep, which is pretty cool. And we get a hint toward Spectre of Torment, with Spectre Knight here looking for his phase locket and not being able to find it. I guess I could go a little into my opinions for now. I like Plague of Shadows more than I like the original campaign, Shovel of Hope, I guess we can call it. So, in my opinion, it's better. I like how Plague Knight plays more than Shovel Knight. He is a bit more difficult to get the hang of, but when you're able to master him, it's just so fun to do so. And apparently Percy and the Magicist are in love. I'm not sure if that's a normal thing in this world of Shovel Knight, but whatever. Oh, I finally got the I actually used the calculator and got the number of the different combinations that you can use in or rather with the what was it called? The Pandemonium cloak. That's what it was. 9,720. That's a lot of different combinations. And there were the Wandering Travelers again, but this time with Shovel Knight in there for some reason. Anyway, back on Plague Knight himself. Just to reiterate, or kind of repeat myself, I like playing as Plague Knight more than I like playing as Shovel Knight. Shovel Knight, he's easier to play as, but Plague Knight is more rewarding to master playing as. And there's a little nice scene. Still not exactly telling us anything. That's also something I like more about Plague Knight's story. I like how open-ended it isn't. A lot of things are not really straight out said, but there's a lot more that's told to the player, and because there's more told to the player, I think the player can get invested more. Like with Shovel Knight, I mean, I don't know how many people figured out that the Enchantress was Shield Knight. I actually didn't until the game actually told me. So there is an air of mystery going on, and it might be fun to figure out that mystery. But I prefer having the story kind of told to me in a more, I don't know what the word is, less subtle way. Like, you can figure out Plague Knight's relationships with all the other knights very easily. Like how he basically just makes fun of every knight except for, I guess, Tinker Knight and Spectre Knight, where Tinker Knight he kind of respects because they're both scientists. And then Spectre Knight, he just kind of can't talk to because Spectre Knight's good at hitting him where it hurts, I guess. Spectre Knight knew that Plague Knight was in love with Mona, I suppose, and that he was too much of a coward to not tell her. He thought he needed the ultimate potion in order to do so, which he actually didn't. He just, I guess, needed to hear it from Mona herself. I don't know. I don't recall if the credits are any different from Shovel Knight's story. Maybe they are a little bit. I don't. Well, I guess having a different production baby might make sense because this came out quite a while after the original Shovel of Hope came out. Well, just Shovel Knight. Shovel of Hope is, I guess, the extra name that I saw one time when I was kind of looking for Spectre Knight stuff. I saw like a page. I was like, oh, Yacht Club decided that since the other characters are getting their own little titles, like Knight name of blank thing, like Spectre of Torment, Plague of Shadows, they decided to give Shovel Knight one and call it Shovel of Hope. And when I saw that, I just... I'll tell a little story. It was late at night when this happened. And I was looking at, of course, Spectre Knight stuff. And when I saw that they were giving the name Shovel of Hope to the standalone Shovel Knight campaign, you know, when the game starts to... Basically, the game is separate now. Shovel Knight, his campaign is going to be like $10. Plague Knight's campaign is going to be $10, and then Spectre Knight's campaign is going to be $10, and the whole thing altogether is going to be like $25 in a thing called Shovel Knight Treasure Trove, which is basically what everyone who bought Shovel Knight before Treasure Trove came out, it's basically what they got. And I bought it before that came out, obviously. Anyway, back on topic of my tangential story, I saw that they were naming it Shovel of Hope, and I stood up that night, at least until I turned on my computer and decided to change the name of all my Shovel Knight videos and the Shovel Knight playlist to Shovel of Hope, because I just couldn't stop thinking about it. But I needed to change it. I wouldn't say that I have OCD or anything like that, but like that's... You know, if someone were to tell me that I did have it, I'd be like, yeah, I can see that. Anyway, here's all my stats. I, of course, did not die. There isn't a... I don't think there's a feat for Plague Knight for not dying or not falling in a pit. Like, for Shovel Knight, there was Impossible, which was not dying, and then Perfect Platformer, which was not dying via falling into a pit. And I got 72% item completion. I feel like that's wrong, because I pretty much got everything within the stages. I guess the last bunch of music sheets counts as a lot, because I of course couldn't have handed in those last 5 music sheets because I was in the middle of a stage at that point. Anyway, end of that story was I turned on my computer, edited all the names of my Shovel Knight videos to Shovel Knight : Shovel of Hope part whatever, and also changed the name of the playlist to Shovel of Hope because I'm weird like that. And for the end, we get to see Mona and Plague Knight dancing, which is it's funny and adorable at the same time, because Plague Knight is so dang short, and Mona is tall, and he's trying to dip her. I mean, he could dip her, which is crazy. I don't think he should have that kind of physical strength in such a small body. It's... whatever. Adorably funny and weird and cute and... whatever. Just get to... I don't know how long I'm going to be watching this dance. I mean, it's not a bad dance to watch. I like it. I like the sprite work going on. But, there's some stuff after the credits that I want to show off me. So can we get past this now? No? Shoot, I gotta think of something to fill up the time now. Okay. Dang, I just can't think of anything. Oh, you can't get the creep feat for watching the entirety of that dance. Thank goodness it's over. Back to the title screen. I didn't show this off before, but the Plague of Shadows little subtitle comes there when you pick Plague Knight as a character. Like once you pick Plague Knight and then return to the title screen or turn the game off or whatever, when you go back to the title screen, it basically says Plague of Shadows underneath the Shovel Knight title. I guess after the update, it's also going to say Shovel of Hope if Shovel Knight was who you played as last. Maybe. I don't know. But now I can give these last few sheets to Percy. It would have been nice if, like, as a post-game thing, they left, or rather they put Mona there instead of Percy. I don't know. It would have been cool. But with those 5 music sheets, Oolong gets 3 extra songs to play. And we can listen to these 15 or so songs that he has, all we want. I don't remember if all of them are exclusive to Plague Knight himself. Some of them overlap with the Bard in Shovel Knight's campaign, if I recall correctly. But that's pretty much all of Plague of Shadows that I'm going to show off. That was a weird kind of cracking noise in my voice. I got a ton more money as Plague Knight than I did as Shovel Knight somehow. I don't know how that happened. I guess since there's more stage to go through as Plague Knight compared to Shovel Knight, it makes sense that I have more money. And I just go show here, you can fall into the water and you can die. And that's even after beating the game, my health was still at 4 dots for the white health. But now, finally, after dying, it's the true 7 dots that it should be. And because I want my health to be at 10 dots, I'm gonna drink a couple of potions and maybe buy some from the Magicist. Actually, no, I'm not gonna, because that's like 1,000 per well, not 1,000, 100 per potion, and that costs money, so I'm just gonna get some free ones from Baz here. And show off a bit of Plague Knight's walk cycle when I'm in this Dandy Duds thing here. I like how he spins when he turns around. His jumps are super adorable. He actually starts off with a different leg every time he jumps, which is pretty cool. And then his double jump being that kind of pelvic thrust into the air. I don't know. I like it a lot. Next time we come back to the Shovel Knight universe, we're going to be playing Spectre of Torment.